NippLife, my hip hop story, yo. Basically, it's a beautiful story. This is episode 1. I'm gonna get right down to it. Hip hop's ready to be 50 years old. Oh man, you know what I mean? So basically, right, starting right there, who we it was a point where we had no idea that it would go to where it is now. You know what I'm saying? In commercials and fashion and something that we just created amongst ourselves, man, it just kept evolving like every week, every 2 weeks, it just kept changing. You know what I'm saying? We had no idea that it would become this $1 billion business that it is, man. So, it's just beautiful, man, to still be involved in it, you know what I mean? Still be doing my part of it and not for that glory and all that, just for me, man. It's something that's within me. I just feel the stars just lined up perfectly. I was the right age. I was the right. It just blended perfectly for me, and that's why I think I'm at this age. Plus, I'm a musician, still doing what I'm doing. So this is episode 1B. My first introduction, man, and I'm gonna have to go back to. It's all Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go back to that, um, like 1973, 1972. I moved to the Bronx in '74, so I can recall writing graffiti. So I'm like 7 or 8. I started writing graffiti, and then we get into all the elements. Started writing graffiti. That was fly. You know what I'm saying? Lived in Taft Projects, man, on 115th Street, 5th Avenue, 1385 5th Avenue. You know how shout out. So that was, tagging and all of that, and spraying and shit. So that was, starting. And then I remember, like, the first break beat I think I heard, my sister had brought it home. It was she was 5 years older than me, so it was Scorpio by Dennis Coffey, and it had this break in it, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom. But anyway, the older cats, was banging that on the desk, and I was able to master that at my young age. So that's that's gonna be important later on down the line. So you got that. Then 72, 73, another big year for me. One of my teachers, it was this song, I Can Understand It, by New Birth as well as Bobby Womack. And I used to dance off of it. I used to do this dance where you would go down. It wasn't break dancing, but it was called a get down. I would just go down and do the split and all this James Brown type, thing, but it was funky. It was a common dance. So fast forward, all of these elements are taking place, man, and still don't know what's going on. So 1974, we get ready to move to the Bronx. And I'm like, man, I really don't want to move to the Bronx because I was, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Harlem cat. I'm thinking I'm going to get jumped when I move to the Bronx. You know what I mean? Gangs and all of this shit. I'm in a gang, little bitty gang. Not a little bitty gang, but I'm a little motherfucker in this gang called the Saigons in Harlem. You know what I mean? Mostly Puerto Rican cats. But anyway, so we moved to the Bronx, man, and it's all gonna fit. So we moved to the Bronx 1974 on 223rd Street in Laconia. You know what I mean? So that block, that 2-family house that we were renting at the top, we was renting on the top, was a major part as my hip hop story gets more and more involved, right? So then there's Laconia Avenue, where I hear these drums. This cat got his garage open, and he's just banging the drums like every day. I'm like, whoa. So go back to Harlem, a little kid, wanting to play the drums, going to the Apollo, banging my little sticks and banging and, pots and pans and all of that. I just knew that I can play the drums. I had never physically played a drum set. I had a toy drum set, but I had never physically played an actual drum set. And what I used to do was, there used to be this catalog this company called Spiegel, and they used to make these big, thick catalogs, right? So I would go to the sections and I would find this drum set. So I would take my pens and pencils and bang on that picture and make the sound. But I'm banging on the actual picture. I'm not even in the catalog. So I would put in my mind that's how that sound would sound. So make a long story short, I just felt I can play. I never, boom. So all the little kids and everybody in the neighborhood would go by this cat's house, and actually his name was Errol, and he became the first hip hop drummer, Pumpkin, right? So he would, people would just stand out there and he would be jamming out. So he would rarely let and I was 10 years old at this time. So he would rarely let anybody really mess with his drums. But I was trying to convince my pops on I wanted a drum set. So one day I went early in the morning and he was there, he was doing something, and I was tapping along with him like on something else. And I think he noticed that and he realized like, wait a minute, you something. So he let me get on and show me a couple of things. And it was the first time I actually got on a drum set. And I was able to work the hi-hat and tempo, the kick. It just was natural. It was just some natural shit to me. So that was cool. Now, up the block from me lived the first family I kind of met, Ramos, my homie Greg Ramos, who turned out to be DJ Greg Ski. So that was real. We had no idea that later on in life he would be my DJ, I would be an MC, we'd be doing shows at Ecstasy Garage and all that shit. We had no idea at this time. We were little kids. So we're chilling. So now, fast forward, 1975, we moved, 1976, 75, we moved on Baychester Avenue. Now, I have to go to another school. When I was staying on 223rd, I was going to Olinville, but I did some wild shit and got expelled, man. We got wild out. So it was a good thing, and it was a gift and a curse because I had to go to Sousa. So now I go to Sousa. I think I'm in the 7th grade. Yeah, 7th grade. So, and I became like in the middle of the school year or some shit like that. So from there, I was always still banging on the desk from Olinville, from elementary. I would drive my teachers nuts. I would just tap, Joe, stop it, boom, boom, just rock out. So this particular, day, I'm banging on the desk, boom, boom, boom. And this is the actual day that I first really heard somebody rhyming, MCing, rapping. And it was my classmate, Robbie Ishmael. Now we had all became cool there. I was there for a minute, so we had a little crew. It was me, Glenn Hendricks, Al, it was a couple of Neils, a couple of others. But Rob lived in Baychester Projects. So he came to school one day with these rhymes, and he was like, "Yo, Joe, give me a beat," or whatever he said. And I'm rocking it, and he's rhyming, and I'm mesmerized by this shit. Because I've never heard this shit. He's not singing. You know what I'm saying? He's flowing like, "Hello, my mellows, my name is Robbie, transmitted to you from the third galaxy." And I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, yo, the next day we doing it again, and I'm like, yo, write me a rhyme or write me whatever. I don't even know. I probably call it a rhyme. It was different terminology back then. It wasn't like lyrics. We wasn't saying all that shit back then. So I was like, yo, write me a rhyme, So actually he gave me that one. And he just switched me. And then he's like, pick a name. You got to come up with a name. I was like, I want to do that. He's like, you got to come up with a name. So my first name was Joe. I automatically came up with Joey Joe. Robbie Rock, Joey Joe. I was going to do Joe Rock, but somebody, it was a bunch of Joe Rocks starting out. It was different names. Greg Ski, Joey Joe, Robbie Rock, Richie Rick. It was those type names that everybody had. It was very, very generic, you know what I mean? It was either this or that, or that or that, It was certain ones like Kaz, and different ones had certain different names, but in the beginning, it was a lot of generic, easy, So anyway, I have my rhyme. Hello, my mellows, my name is Joey, transmitted to you from the third galaxy. Now, so that was my rhyme, and then it was almost the end of the school year, and the bus started going around that Breakout was going to go be in the back of his be in the back of 111, which was an elementary school right next to Sewell on Baychester. So I didn't know what breakout was. I knew he was a DJ. I heard he was going to be testing equipment out. So that's the first time that I saw actual DJ out in the park. And I mean, so it was the fly. It was the best experience ever on the real shit. It was the birth of my shit. So we walk way back, and they damn sure they was out there with their speakers, Breakout, Baron. I remember KK Rockwell, rapping. Rodney C and all of it was the original Funky Four. I'm thinking, and I don't want to lie, Shark was there. But what mesmerized me was they were cutting up James Brown songs. And I performed with James Brown when I was 5. I danced with him at the Apollo Theater. So now I'm like, whoa, what is this? So they rhyming. And they rhyming over James Brown break beats. And I'm like, holy shit. I mean, it totally mesmerized. I mean, it totally took me. It was something. And it's hard to even explain now, because to people, it's hard unless you were there, because some people are born into hip hop, rap. It just existed. But to have never seen something, and you see something, and you like 12, 13, you 14, you tripping, you like, holy shit, and it's funky, and you like, what the fuck? So from there, you got to try your best to be a part of this shit. So graduate. And this is when it gets really more and more interesting for me. But before the graduation, that was the first outside jam. But this was the jam that took it to the next level for me. The homie Glenn Hendricks called his name Rockwell. He used to flow. So we had our little thing. And Sunday nights, the T Connections was free during the summer. So he came, he's like, yo, the T Connect was like, damn, man. My pops at that time was like, he ain't trying to have me all out like that. So I'm like, fuck it. He's like, you can go, but you got to be back at like something crazy, like 9, 10, something wild. And it started it was like only get an hour there. So I'm like, all right, boom. So me and Glenn go. Now, I'm probably 13, maybe 14 at this time. You know what I'm saying? But because I started school earlier, so I was younger than everybody else. So we go to this place called the T Connection on White Plains Road and Gun Hill and White Plains Road, man. So it was like, wow, So now I'm seeing badass chicks. I mean, you older, but damn, you like, holy shit, it's free. So we walk up the stairs, you know what I mean? And it was the owner who ran it, and the owner, Richie T, you know what I mean? Rest in peace. But he's like, nah, I can't let you guys, y'all too young. So I'm like, man, because everybody's like, he's like, come on, man, you're holding up the line, you know what I mean? So we go back downstairs, and then the line gets up, so I go back up again, and I'm like, man, please, man, I'm trying to tell you. He's like, all right, I tell you what, if I let you in, I don't want to catch you drinking. And I'm like, all right, cool, fuck it, I'm in, yeah, fuck it. So, we get in. Soon as I get in there, it's crowded. It's people dancing, they rocking Apache. I mean, it's some shit, man. It's like, it's hard. You had to be there. You know what I mean? My man Glenn, no, you had to be there. But so soon as I get in, we look around. I see chicks with these shorts cut off. I mean, I'm just falling in love. I mean, I'm at that age right now. It's just, man, this is paradise for me. So I go to the bar and I buy a Heineken, right? Soon as I get ready to grab it to put up my mouth, it gets snatched. Richie T comes. He said, didn't I tell you? And I'm like, I apologize. So from that day on, he knew who I was, and I was always able to get in a T Connection. I always respected him. I would drink, but I would have to hide, and he would look, and like if he saw me with something, but I would never. After a minute, like a couple of years after that, he didn't even fuck with me about drinking. But I was one of the youngest motherfuckers he would let in, man. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, Richie T, man. The T Connection was definitely a major. It was probably one of my favorite, but besides the Fever, that was like my spot. You know what I mean? This shit started getting crazy. You know what I mean? It was a thing where, uh, most of the like $2, $3, ladies with free before 11, shit like that. Then they would stamp your hand. And after a minute, me and my crew, somebody would go pay and get a stamp, and we would do this shit called share the stamp. And you press your hand and shit like, and try to get in, we would do shit like that. But all in all, man, the T Connection was a spot, and that was actually the spot where Cool Herc was DJing, and I met Herc through the homie Greg, which is another part of the story. But that's the same club where I did my thing when I was probably like 16. So after the T Connection, man, it was boom, crazy. Now that I had auditioned for music and art, but I didn't make it, my grades or whatever, so I ended up going to D with Clinton. I didn't want to go there either, but it is. But that's where I really got exposed more and more, because it was so many different neighborhoods. You had Webster 9 crew, you had Casanova, Zulus, you just had so many different people and boxes, boom boxes. We didn't call them that, we just call them boxes. And you just heard Paradise is very nice. You heard Apache dance to the drummer's beat, scratching, bam, bam, bam. You just heard all of this. You just heard it. You heard the rappers, you heard Cold Crush, you just heard shit. So, and still at that time, it was mainly the DJ. It was all about the DJ scratching. It was all about the music. It was strictly about the music. The rappers was a lot of shout outs, and it was a generic rap that basically everybody did. It was a couple of them, 3 or 4 of them that every MC back then did. You had to do it. I don't know if you had to do it, but it was just that. And this is where it started evolving. And they were, yes, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all, to the beat, y'all. Shit don't stop. It's on and on and on and on like a hot, butter on a popcorn. And the dip, dip, dive. You're so socialized. Clean out your ears and open your eyes. Those were those. And somebody say, oh, those were there was a lot of crowd participation, but it was those dip it dive, and when I was walking down the street in the glows, those were, it was like a template of, I don't know, it was just weird, what I mean? It wasn't weird, it wasn't like whack, it was just a shit. And then it started gradually getting into more lyrics and rhymes and different things. But I'm gonna jump back to Clinton. So from Clinton, you started thing called, everybody wanted to be a DJ, and they couldn't. So they would do this thing called pause tapes. So you would buy the album or the 12-inch Paradise, and you would go home and pause it. You would take a cassette tape, and you would play it, record, stop it, record that part again, pause it, record that part again. And if you was a master, it would sound like a DJ, because it would go, but you would hear, some people would try to play like they was DJing, but you would hear the click. But, it was a weird time, that pause tape. I got stuff it off it, man. But the pause tape era was a trip, and it was I don't know, a couple of months or whatever, or for a while, until it got corny and shit. It was like, I'm over all that. So once again, the DJs were the center of it. It was the Flashes, it was the Bambadas, it was the Hercs, it was the Theodores, it was scratching, it was mixing, it was beats. It was the same beats we would go to, the T Connection, the PAL, Eden Wall Center, the big parks. It was a lot of park jams, a lot of the spur of moment. Time before flyers, you just would listen for music and be like, oh, the Valley's rocking, or word of mouth. It was no cell phone, so it was like an adventure every damn day, which was a beautiful thing. And once again, from that to where it is now, we had no idea. You know what I mean? So Clinton goes on and now become an MC, which is dope. You know what I mean? Because I started meeting other people. I got like a couple more minutes on this episode. So I started meeting a couple more people, and started hanging with these Casanova cats for a minute. You know what I mean? Dillinger and them, and then because it was crews. We call them gangs or whatever, but it was crews. It was the Nine Crews, Casanovas. It was the Zulu Nation. You know what I mean? And it was before the Zulus was these other. I forgot the name of that, but it was another thing. But those were the main crews in Clinton and in the Bronx and at that time. So I started hanging with these Casanova cats because I was kind of terrified of Clinton when I first went because it was wild shit they were saying. I'm like, damn, I'm small, I'm a little motherfucker. So I started hanging with these niggas. And then a couple of weeks after that, these niggas rob a bank and shit. They in the Daily News front page. So then I started hanging with these other cats, Dougie, Brian, and all of them. And then I started doing the Zulu shit. I got chapter 13, I jumped in and all that wild shit and was fucking with that. And then I was just too independent mind to whatever. It wasn't for me just to be on no following shit, basically. And I couldn't be snatching niggas' medallions and doing wild shit. So we started our own crew. It was a cat named Brian, a cat named Ace, a cat named Dougie. It was just wild shit. We would get blazed out and wild, just wild. So one day I spit that rhyme. Hello, my mellows. My name is Joey. Transmitted to you from the third galaxy. And it was tripping and shit. And he was like, yo, Andre, who was a DJ, who lived on White Plains Road and something. And then Brian, I forgot, Brian lived somewhere, but Brian lived a little, not too far, but anyway, said they was going to start a crew. So we would get high, go to this cookie factory and shit. And just, fuck school was at that point. So one day we ended up going to this dude's Mark's house, who lived right across the street from PS 21, which happened to be, when I left Harlem, that was the first elementary school I went to, PS 21. Then I went to Owenville, got kicked out. Then I went to Sousa. So from there, it was just fly. So he's got one turntable, and it was wintertime, and he was going to supposedly get his 2 turntables for Christmas. So we went, and I was saying, and they put on a break beat, and Brian was an MC, and there was another MC there. I think his name is Shamu or something like that. I don't want to disrespect the cat, but he ain't like me. But anyway, so I started trying to say this rhyme over a beat, but I was totally off because I had never said it to actually music. I said it to banging on the desk, but I had never said it to, the actual music. So they was laughing, and he's like, the rhyme was dope, but you off beat. So I tried it again, and Mark and Ace and them were trying to explain to me how to ride the beat, how to boom, and about the third time I got it. And I was like, oh shit. And it was hello, my mellows. And from that, it was like, whoa, we starting this crew. You know what I mean? They didn't have a name. My name is Sonic Sound. The dude Mark ended up being Mark James, Mark the 45 King. You know what I'm saying? Produced Stan for Eminem, Hard Knock Life for Jay-Z. So it's me, him, 2 DJs. It's the rapper Shamu, Brian, me, and I'm not sure if it's another cat. So I come up with a name, and then we brainstorm in Sonic Sound. So that Christmas, his mom's got him the turntables, you know what I mean? 2 turntables, the mixer, and we doing our crew, man. We was trying to have meetings with our parents to, make this thing official. You know what I'm saying? I lived far from them, not far, but, so at that point I knew that I was the best MC out of the crew. Just my voice and my whole charisma and shit was just different. I stood out. And before that, the other dude was the dude. You know what I'm saying? So I started feeling the tension and shit, and I stopped going to rehearsal. And we were supposed to do this one party, and on White Plains Road, and I showed up, and I was getting ready to go under the ropes, which was a thing behind it. But that was a big deal to get behind the ropes. And it's like, oh, nah, you ain't in the crew no more. He just came out like that. And, I'm like, all right, and I just wilded out, burnt that bridge, roasted him, the whole crew, you know what I'm saying? Because I had brought people with me, so I'm embarrassed, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, these niggas. So what it was, they had brought this other cat in named Mercury. I heard he passed away, rest in peace. So they doing their thing, and then one day at the T Connection, man, they performing, man. So I'm looking at them, and they up there on the stage, and then the dude Mercury rhyme, he's like, "Hello, my mellows, my name is Mercury." So I'm like, yo. So he sees me in the audience, man. So he gets off stage, and he's like, "Yo, my man," and I'm like, "Come on, bro." He's like, "Man, please." So I never, never out of the market of moving to New Jersey, messing with Queen Latifah and all of that, Flavor Unit and all that kind of shit. And I ended up joining another crew called the Fearsome Crew, which is going to be on episode 2. You know what? Don't stop the flow. It's NippLife, yo. Stay tuned, baby. Hip Hop 50.